Good morning, good afternoon, good evening across the country, around the world. Welcome back to Planet Coaster WestCOT. We're still continuing to work on Bangkok, Thailand. This is part, 6, I believe? I can't keep track that well. Anyway, today we are going to work on the wooden hybrid coaster with the steel track, not steel topped, but steel track of the wood coaster. That's what makes it a hybrid, yeah. And so, jumping into the time lapse, I gave myself a lot of extra time. There we go. So, for this one, I think trying to see, what did I do? Okay, yeah, we started with the coaster. I couldn't remember. So, this coaster is, like I said, a hybrid, and it's not really like, let me see how to say this. When you see, like, Silverette's Planet Coaster College video about these types of coasters, you can see they're made more for like a flat topped locale, whatever, a flat level surface to build on, which is most theme parks. They're not crazy hilly like this one is. And there you see it where it has kind of as he called it, a skyline where there's some ups and downs and they kind of cross each other and there's layers. But with this, because I did have this hill to work with, I don't really get that much, but I do. That was funny. That piece of track wasn't there, but I do get some what's it called? It wasn't even a piece of track. It was a piece of station. I do get some, what's it called? I do get a lot of the elements, or if not all the elements, that Silverette highlights in his hybrid coaster video, at least to the best of my construction design ability. I think some of the, there's a 0G stall, there's a 0G roll, there's a, what else is there? There's, I think right here, we don't go that way. Next, yeah, there we go. We're going to overbanked turn. And something I forgot to do until after this overbanked turn, I think. Like, we'll see it in a moment. I forgot to offset. I think it was about here that I realized it. Maybe here. There it was, yeah. You want to use offset banking. It'll just make these types of coasters that much smoother. It makes it look kind of wonky at first, but then again, once you smooth it out, everything looks fine and it works out all right. So there's an overbanked curve coming back in this way, and right off the bat, we've got a couple of strong elements. There's, like I said, the overbanked curve, and then I think we go right into a 0G stall, which is where it's kind of a barrel roll, but it's also on a hill where you slope up, invert, and then you hang upside down for a piece of track or two. Mine's actually rather long, and then you roll back out of it. They can be continuous, rotating clockwise or counterclockwise the whole way through, or you can flip it and rotate up one way and back the other way. I think with this one I rotate, all the way through the same way. And there it is. There's the 0G stall part of it where you're upside down for quite a while. And yeah, this one continues going, I'm trying to think, clockwise as you're riding it? No, you rotate counterclockwise as you are riding it, yeah. They're not the best track elements I've ever made. They're not the smoothest, although the smoothing tool does a lot. Even now, I'm actually recording a few episodes, the dialogue a few episodes behind. Even now, I know that I could go through and smooth it out some more on a few spots. And I might still, but I eventually got the coaster to run at a good pace. We'll come back to that at the end. Anyway, so we have the overbanked curve, and then the 0G stall, and then this little bunny hill here. And after this, I install some, do I do it here? There it is, yeah, I install some block brakes. I put those in, later on I take them out, I put them back, I take them out. Toward the end, I was fighting with the block brakes and stations, or not block brakes, but the spacing. If you don't, there's settings to play with the block brakes, but I didn't have it quite right, and it wouldn't make it. It would make it through that little S curve that's all sloped, or that's all not sloped, it's banked, which is also something that Silverette calls out as a typical track element for these types of coasters. And then we got, as you saw before, we had a double down. Here there's a double up ish, and the camera was being stupid, or the controls were being stupid and freezing. It's weird. Some spots, some places, for some reason, it does not like it. Well, yeah, and here I was looking at the rafts. I think I only had 6 rafts, and eventually I ended up doing 12, and that makes it better instead of a huge queue just sitting there forever. Anyway, because of that block breaks, if it's rolling straight through, it's fine. If for some reason it stalls there, you're stuck. It doesn't want to go. Or not that you're stuck, I'm sorry. But when it dispatches from those block breaks, it doesn't make it up these couple of those double ups, or the whatever those are, bunny hill. Yeah, the double ups. Although it becomes like a triple up, I think. Oh no. I toyed with dropping it down again, and then I was like, no, that's hard to construct things underground like that. So here, yeah, it was this turn. It would get up into that turn, and then it would fall back down into those double downs, or double ups. So it wasn't quite... It took some finagling with. And then here, we're going to a 0G roll. And in retrospect, looking at this, I probably should have made these track sections shorter. Shrunk them with a little ruler doodad there. Because they're quite long. And I'm not sure if it's, correct. I thought it was cool that it was crossing over the raft ride, except that because there's collision not on, those support pieces you would have caught your head if you were on the raft on the steel support pieces of the track. So we don't do that. We take it back up, and then we fix the ground later on. So yeah, kind of an interesting 0G roll thing. It's kind of starts out as a typical, what I think is typical quote 0G roll, and it ends up being more of a barrel roll. I think a 0G roll is supposed to go up a bit more, and this, well, it doesn't, and it can't. Otherwise, the coaster would stall. But a lot of time spent watching it running and seeing how the coaster does, testing it many, many times, and it makes it around here. Good 0G roll, and then could crash ish, maybe. I forget why I changed that. Oh, I think I wanted it to go up into a second something, except that it doesn't make it, as you saw there. So I end up putting in a chain lift. Or I try softening it out. Oh, that doesn't work either, does it? I don't think so. Waiting for the coaster. Yeah, a lot of this was trial and error, waiting for the coaster. Oh, banking that would help smooth it out with the speed. And it makes that banked area really exciting because it's a really quick banking. So there it makes it up there, but I figured, you know what, that's just not quite enough. So I give in, and I put in a second lift hill. And it's not, I don't know if it was my best decision. It's not the best lift hill. It's also that this right here, that slope is very slow, and I'll admit, kind of boring. It doesn't have quite the excitement that I would like it to have. But in the end, especially when we get as many coasters operating as we can, with all the block sections as happy as we can, we get I think it's a 6.16 on the excitement scale. And that's about where a lot of my coasters end up, in the just barely over 6. Yeah, so there we just put in another overbanked turn, and then here overbanked curve, and then here we go, yeah, so we go down into the mega cave down below, and there you can see the giant void of space underneath this crazy mountain, and I wanted to bring this just back up, but for some reason, and it happened multiple times, going from this cave to out of the cave, the camera was most unhappy. Yeah, I don't want to run to the bottom of the track there. That's not good. Yeah, the camera was really not that terribly happy working at places like this where it's kind of underground, but it can see outside. It does. I don't know if it's the camera that does weird things because of the terrain levels and the way the camera wants to behave. I think it's also because the way the game, like when you're in that cave, it doesn't render I don't think it renders like anything else out in the game world. But then when you come to the edge of the cave, it starts rendering it and it slows things down. Maybe? I don't know. It's something like that. But we're almost done. The track elements aren't going to get that really terribly exciting from here. We slope down here, and all this looks janky, but we smooth it out later. And again, there's still some smoothing I could do to make things even better. Slope down here, and then we do one last kind of a helix, like way overbanked helix around this little hill here. And we kind of carve into that little dollop of ground there. I thought I could get back to the track that was there. Auto connect, and it wants to go like every which way. Still not happy. Okay. But I end up getting it able to connect this way. Boop, boop. There we go. And that is effectively the track layout. And here I go smoothing things up. Smooth, 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 smooth. Yeah, the smoothing tool, it's amazing how much a smoothing tool does. It makes it look a little more realistic. Sometimes you lose the line, quote unquote, that you're going for, but generally it helps. You just got to be selective where you smooth. Eventually, if you smooth everything too much, it'll end up just flattening everything out, which is boring. Did I put block brakes there? I think I tried putting block brakes there. Didn't really work. Yeah, but it's amazing. Like if you don't smooth it, your like nausea levels and your fear levels will be really high. But as soon as you smooth it, it takes out a lot of that nausea factor. And there's the coaster. So now I think we're going to run it. There it goes on its maiden voyage. Doop-a-doop-doo. Did I pause the game? I don't know why I paused the game here, but I did. I forget. Maybe I had to pee or something. And there they go. Ba-doop-a-doop-doo. Oh, yeah. And the other one is back in the top left corner. It's stalled there. So here we are looking at heat maps, trying to see what is where, what can be improved upon. And the excitement and things like that. So it's not that terribly exciting, although those colors were from the coaster that stalled there. And yeah, it does not like those block brakes there. That just does not work. So I think we end up taking, I think actually that spot, instead of a flat spot with block brakes, I end up with, what's it called? With another kind of a 0G stall, kind of a roll. And this, I said, okay, let's bank this even more, make it more kind of intense, and then smooth out those transitions. Yep, see, and again, coming out to the real world, it gets, it gets unhappy. There we go. Yeah, kind of got to gingerly get yourself back in there. Here I'm watching to see if that improves, and it doesn't really. Yeah, see that second lift hill and that drop don't really get you all that exciting, which is a pity. Even though a lot of these elements are pretty typical of this type of coaster, at least from what I can discern. Let's see, what do I do next? Yeah, it gets up there. I just wasn't. I think we get like a 5.74. It's hard to read when I'm watching it like this. Here we go. So here's where I take, and immediately out of that cave, it goes into an overbanked turn right over the water there, which I thought was a cool element right there. So you're passing over and you see the water like right beneath you. And then we just, loop it in with that. And smooth, 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 smooth. Make it all nice and smooth and fun. And that should make something of a difference to the ride, to the excitement. There it goes. Sometimes it takes a while for the coasters to dispatch in test mode. I don't understand why, but it does. So there we go. We got over a 6, so it's a green. I think in the end, it's a 6.16. The fear is only like a 3.4-ish, but the nausea level stays good. And for this type of coaster, which has these types of elements, a good nausea level is actually, to me, is a big deal. After this, I think at this point, I just ran it with 2 coasters, and everything was okay. It took a few iterations playing with, well, without recording, but playing with the Q. Oh, that's right. Yes, I raised this up. Do it now. Oh, I adjust the things. Oh, yeah. I adjust the brakes. I get rid of the brakes. I played with that a bit. I'm not sure if I recorded it, but I raised that up actually eventually, because there it goes. It just valleyed. You can see it over there to the left. but it valleys there. So I end up, what do? I end up raising that whole section up so it gives it a little more oomph to get over that. And then also just, what's it called? I think I adjust the settings there. Oh yeah, vandalism. Vandalism, that's fun. I've actually turned off security since then because I'm tired of all those notifications. So here we got 2 coasters, and here's where I'm kind of watching how it behaves with all the guests. Because the real test is once you got the guests in the queue and well, not a full queue, but a station that is continually active, like filling up the coaster every time, and then the gates fill up every time. That's when you can really judge your spacing. And with 2 coasters, people sit in the queue for a while, and there's nothing in the station, which isn't terribly inaccurate, but it's not what I wanted. I wanted something that was going to be active and keep going. And as you can see, there's lots of time between those 2 coasters. So I twist it. I tweak it so that we have a 3rd coaster coming up here. And I think this cut right here. Yeah, this cut is when I've cut it, and I think I've got 3 coasters running consistently. Yeah, 3 coasters running consistently. I tweaked a few things here and there, but it's not that much of a change. And now, the last section of this episode, we go into some scenicing. It's really just trees and bushes, and oh yeah, and terrain. Terrain cleaning up. There's also some terrain, I guess some terrain texture work I could do to get rid of some of the grassy textures here and there. And I don't know if I recorded it. I honestly can't remember what I recorded or what I didn't. But there's also adding lights to light the caves of the Rapids ride. I have a feeling I already did that. I could be wrong. But here, I wanted to clean up the terrain, because obviously both rides carve into the terrain. And that's fine, but I don't want it to look like, oh, there's a tube where this thing carved out of the rock. I want it to look a little more like a natural ledge or something. So smoothing tool, push tool here and there, pull tool here and there. I'm still not like amazingly confident with the terrain tools, terrain tools, but I think I'm getting better. I don't know. And then a lot of this down here, yeah, I wanted to fill up with ground, with supports, no, with structure to it. Otherwise, a lot of these things are just kind of floating up in the middle of nowhere. And that's fine, you know, coasters have tall supports where they are floating. Oh yeah, here I hid this first drop even more, so that it is kind of a mystery. Where do I go? What happens? I don't know. And then raise up the terrain there to kind of bring it up closer underneath the main lift hill. And then smooth. Make it all smooth so nothing looks like, again, oh, we carved this tunnel for the coaster. I closed that off a little earlier. Yeah, sure. I can't remember some of the things I did from moment to moment, you know? Here we go. So here's where we're going to go in and we light the caverns. I just used the blue ones because they give a nice, you know, glowy light to things. Unfortunately, it was a little screwy because there's only so much space between the coaster and the ceiling, so that you got to be careful. Otherwise, it kind of defaults to there, like where it's floating over the coaster. And then I was in the station, I'm like, oh, okay, we can add lights. So it's interesting that these light up in some places and not in others. And then and then I realized, oh, it's because it's daytime, and these things aren't going to light up that well in daytime. And I put these lights here in this station, these old, whatever these lanterns are, that are kind of one of my mainstays because they work in a lot of places. When I get to the other side, when I get to the temple interior courtyard that I start lighting, I actually end up using the wall torch, the flaming torch that is a thing, because I thought it looked cool. And there it is. Yeah, I thought like, okay, that's doable. I kind of slap these on all the main entrance arches there, and then in front of the rides themselves. Oh yeah, off camera, I've also added a first aid to one side and restrooms to the other side, just to give the guests some options there. And I realized, oh wow, the the monorail queue. Oh, that's full. That's fun. But lighting this up, otherwise the guests are down there in like complete darkness. And it's funny that they are okay with that. You'd think that would be like a factor for them, saying, I'd rather not be here, this place is creepy, but no, they're okay with it. Lighting up the monorail station itself, and then back to the flames. do 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 do. I wasn't humming the Iron Man theme. That's not playing at work right now. No. Today wasn't a big day. Well, if you're watching this the day it comes out on Sunday, yesterday it wasn't a big day for us. Yes, and now back into this cave, and this is the big cave. The big cave with like the stalactites and stalagmites, and I tried lighting it with that, and then I went, you know what, screw it, just put these. And they kind of give a general lighting. It's not like amazing show, although part of me goes like, no, it's like phosphorescent algae. Yeah, it's just glowing. Don't worry about it. And a part of me, maybe I could hide these things and suck them into the ground to kind of make them disappear a little more, but that's not really like my style. Ooh, yeah, controls, visual, hard. The way these things tunnel themselves out, it does not give much space for operating, so it makes things really tedious. Like you have to manipulate the camera a lot to be able to place them without placing them like to where they're floating over the track. We don't go as heavily here though, kind of keep some dark spaces so that there's a little mystery here and there. But otherwise, I kind of like this. Oh, that support just gets a little low. I might have to go through and nix the supports in that little section of the coaster track. Yeah, there's probably a little work to be done here and there on the coaster track itself. And so lastly, again, back to scenicing, which is technically a model railroading term, but I think it applies here. But scenicing with trees, some acacia trees, mostly the large, I forget what those are, poplar, not ponderosas, there's something. But those guys, I could go in with more rocks. I think I will go through with some more rock texture and tune that up a bit. But yeah, trees, acacia trees, and the other big trees, just to give you an idea, just to give it some earthy texture and substance and not just ground. Anyway, I think, yeah, in just a few moments, I'll leave you with a ride through of the coaster, and that'll be it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. If you like, hit subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, pass the word. I will catch you later.